Welcome to Actual Leigh. It's my podcast. That's my intro for my podcast. Now, let's get started. I took a extra long hiatus between seasons. I was waiting for a couple of things, and I wanted the formatting to be consistent because I'm like that sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And yeah, and I did record another episode first, and I was gonna jump in with that, but then I decided, I should come back to this like one just me thing. I was gonna say one-on-one, but that's technically what the other ones are. This is 1-on-0, I guess. I don't know. Or it's one-on-one because it's me and you. But yeah, so here I am. I hope that you guys have all been doing well. And I'm excited to get started on season 2. I now have 2 episodes recorded. I mean, technically 2 sessions. That'll probably be more like 4 episodes just because, I do split them up. And, I want to say thank you to everybody that's been listening and following along as my podcast has been evolving and taking shape into what it is now. I'm sure it's going to continue to do that because I'm still learning, and, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, not the podcast itself, a little bit with the podcast, a little bit, but more with like my life, right? Like shit has happened during this. And honestly, that's like the longer this goes on, the more those of you that listen regularly will see that this is how my life tends to go. I want it to not keep doing that, but I've been saying that for a very long time. And I have found it's healthier not to get my hopes up about things that I don't have control over. So, yeah, I thought, that I would just kind of do a little bit of an update about kind of where things are. So that way in subsequent episodes, when I refer to things or whatever, there's like, like the foundation of understanding, assuming you even listen to this one. I mean, if you jump in, like, you're not going to know, but that's okay. That's okay. It'll be here for you. So I wanted to talk about the mullet in the room because I have that going on right now. Yeah. Some people are like, oh my God, they get very sensitive about hairstyles, but the mullet gets kind of a bad rap because it's classism. Honestly, it's really comes down to that. Yeah. And if you don't agree with me, you might need to, if you don't like mullets and you don't think that you're classist, you might have some work to do. Anyway, I mean, obviously some people just don't, let me clarify that more because, some people just don't like certain hairstyles, but there's when you don't like them in a way that you judge people for having them versus I just don't like the way that looks. Like there's 2 separate things, right? So yeah, the judgy dislike, not the preferential about the way that someone's hair is shaped around their head. Anyway, I'm growing my hair out for a specific hairstyle that the top is shorter and the rest of it is like longer. And this allows me to get to that more comfortably because I don't like the growing out phase, and I don't want to suffer with the growing out phase in that particular way where then I'm just going to go like cut it. So I was like, why not just start it in that shape, and then I can kind of like groom it into that shape as it grows, right? Yeah, and originally there was this hairstyle that I really liked from that TV show, Raised by the Wolves. The Australian haircuts and mullets and stuff are all very like in on their TV shows and stuff. And I like it. I like the way it looks on some people. Um and I don't think, especially when it's getting a little longer where my curls are doing the thing, but when it's a little bit shorter, I thought it looked pretty cool. Um so yeah, whatever. Um I just I just figured I'd mention it because when I saw my son after I got the haircut, he started laughing, and I just there is some like some stuff there around the haircut. But I have seen some fucking amazing mullets out and about, that just look like super awesome on the people wearing them. And yeah, I don't care. If it makes you happy, do it. And if you don't like it, don't do it. That's it. That's it. There's a line, okay? For everything. Uh so I did start a new segment that is being implemented in the season, uh, where I ask the guests questions, and that is shared only with my patrons. That is posted on my Patreon page, and yeah, I'm super excited about that. It has been consistently fun. I have also consistently forgotten to do it, because it's not part of the routine yet, and it's a little bit like I tend to just converse and free flow and stuff, and so stopping to like ask questions, um, is, I just have to get used to it. So, but thankfully, like everybody that I've interviewed so far has been totally cool about like jumping back on and doing a quick, 15-minute recording or whatever. So, and it makes me really happy and excited to have something specifically for my patrons, because I really, really, really appreciate their support. And um, I'm going to say, like, especially in the last year, because I haven't been as productive in the ways that I was before, in terms of like making stuff for my shop and making art and stuff. And I feel like that was really what my Patreon was focused on in the beginning. And I feel like they've stuck with me through a lot of hardship. And it means a lot to me. It's helped me be able to pay rent and stuff. And I know that doing this podcast is part of my creativity, but there's a little bit of a disconnect for me, there, that I'm still working on, and that I know that if someone wants to support me for my podcast, that's totally like a valid activity that I'm doing to support, right? So yeah, I'm still learning how to feel worthy of things, because that's a thing. Oh, so I have music, which you will have heard. I haven't started to implement it into the episodes, but by the time this episode comes out, I will have done that, probably very clumsily, and I will slowly get better at it over time. I don't I don't totally know like how I'm going to do it yet. I'm just going to have to do it and see how it sounds and what makes sense. But I'm thinking there's going to be like the little intro, and then on the other side, there'll be like the little outro, and maybe I'll do like a little like consistent blurb that goes over it. And that will be when everybody knows it's time to skip to the next episode and they won't listen to it. But the music is super awesome. It was made by someone that I connected with on Twitter, now X, called Ink Ribbon. Their stuff is really, really cool, and I will be including links, so that you can find their other stuff. They do commissions and stuff like that, but yeah, they are a musician and they deserve support and praise and sharing. So if you like them and you check them out and you like them, the orders were reversed, so I fixed it. Then you should definitely share them. Make sure they get their plays and all that junk. Um, yeah. So I have been having issues getting people on for interviews. Just everybody's been really busy. And so the people that I've talked to have consistently been like, yeah, I can do it, but in a few months kind of thing. I've had a few people say they want to, but when they're feeling better, and I haven't really heard back from them, and they've been doing other stuff. So I don't know if that means I'm supposed to be like, hey, I noticed you're feeling better. I'm not that person. I'm not going to do that. If I invite you on and you give me a reason for why you can't do it right now, but you can do it later, and you don't follow up, then okay. So anyway, if you know anyone that you think would like to be on my podcast, including yourself, let me know. It's it's actually really hard to ask people. I get really nervous about it because I don't know. And yeah, so I'm going to keep doing that, and sorry. And maybe it'll get easier. Probably will get easier because that's logical. But if people want to be on, they can let me know and we can see if we can figure something out. Um, the only person right now that I'm not gonna have on that said they were interested basically made the mistake of trash talking my other guests by saying that they were better than them, and they might have been joking, but I don't really understand the joke. I don't understand why it would be funny to suggest that. So I was like, nah, we're not we're not doing that. I'm not down for that. I really appreciate all of my guests. I think they're all awesome. Plus, let's not forget that my son has been my guest, and there's just you can't beat him. You cannot be better than him. I'm sorry. I am biased, and so I am offended by the implication, right? Anyway, so let's see. Updates for health stuff. Sick, housing, gallbladder things. I'm talking with a surgeon in a couple of weeks about my gallbladder stuff. The hyperkinetic gallbladder issue is not a well understood issue. There really hasn't been a lot of work put into trying to understand it until the last couple of years. There are very few studies on it. The few studies that there are, it's very small numbers of people where they're just compiling like the results of removing the gallbladder or not removing the gallbladder. That's kind of it. Like they don't really understand how it impacts the GI system to have a gallbladder that is ejecting too quickly and stuff. They don't even really understand like what symptoms it could cause or anything. I mean, they are only really starting to look into like the long-term impacts of removing the gallbladder in the first place. So, you know, like they're finding that people that have had their gallbladder removed have a higher risk of metabolic syndrome, which means being predisposed for diabetes and a variety of other things. There's some cancers and stuff like that the risk goes up, mostly in men for whatever reason, which is interesting because gallbladder issues are predominantly a women's issue, like a lot of things. And yeah, so that's an area that needs a lot more stuff. So since November, I have had consistently elevated liver numbers, and just like my symptoms are just I don't know. They like I started in one place and then they just keep moving, and they're the only thing that's really consistent is that my right side hurts in particular ways, but it's almost like my gallbladder got tired of being so expressive, and so it's no longer quite as violent as it was in the beginning. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, it's a good thing in terms of like my overall experience living in my body is not quite as horrific, but it is I'm still not having a great time. And, also at the same time as this stuff triggered with my gallbladder, my thyroid went wackadoo, and I've had subacute thyroiditis for quite a long time. Usually, this is on average when people get subacute thyroiditis, the hyper phase is much shorter, like 6 to 8 weeks on average. And mine was like 6 months because I can't do anything in half steps. Like, and I can't be average. I just cannot be average. Okay. So, um, that's been fun. And subacute thyroiditis is basically the thyroid becomes inflamed and it causes damage to the thyroid, which allows the hormones that are in the thyroid to leak out. And that's what causes the hyperthyroidism during that phase. So it's not due to an over under production of the different hormones, because when you have thyroid issues, if you're hyper, your T4 is high and your TSH is low. And if you're hypo, they go the other way. It can be kind of confusing. As a matter of fact, if you Google it, it'll tell you the opposite on some of the pages. It's okay. I was, for anyone listening and not watching, I was making a face. So during the hyper phase, there's no medication that you can like take to stop the leaking or to absorb the excess hormone in the system or anything like that. It's just wait it out and hope you don't get a thyroid storm, which is dangerous. So that was, I lost 6+ months of my life to just those symptoms. And I got to tell you, the thyroid is it's something. It does a lot. Yeah, it's been a lot. And that started to calm down, and I don't feel great. I'm really tired. Like my body feels like it's been run ragged, which is accurate because hyperthyroidism just basically does that. My hair was falling out in crazy amounts, and that's kind of mellowed out, which is nice. That's also part of the reason why it's like a little longer, because the thinning is more noticeable when my hair is shorter, like when I keep it at a buzz cut, and I'm uncomfortable with that. Anyway, so now what is happening with my thyroid is regular checks. Every 8 weeks we do check. I'm about due for a check, and what they're looking for is me going into hypothyroidism. So when things are low and slow and depressing and stuff, which is easier to manage, and they can actually treat it with medication, unlike the hyper stage. And it doesn't happen to all patients that have subacute thyroiditis, but it's pretty common. And the hypo phase lasts for about a year. It's something like 4% stay there for the rest of their lives and will need medication forever. So it's not a super high percentage. So they're basically keeping an eye on it. And this last week or so, last 2 weeks, I have been just getting increasingly fatigued and tired in this way where it's just hard to move around. Like I took a shower and I just felt like throwing up because I was so tired, right? So we'll see what the tests say, because I do have chronic fatigue syndrome. So it's very possible that I'm in a sort of like a relapse because of everything that I've been through. That's always sort of a risk for me. And so I just been taking it easy, doing what I can, been doing some crafting, but not as much as I would like. I did work on a painting. It's a paint by numbers. The camera is like backwards, and I'm trying not to look because I'm not used to seeing myself backwards that way. And like, why is my mouth shaped like that? And what's my hair doing? And then, as you can see, I keep moving it the wrong way. I'll get over it. Um, so what? I can't remember what I was saying. Um, oh yeah, oh yeah. I was talking about like I did a painting. I'll try to remember to edit in a picture paint by numbers painting because I can't make things look like things. I don't. I just I I can look at I can have a reference image and I can make something kind of look like it, but it's never great. And when I try to draw, the lines are really shaky and stuff. So, um, I don't care. Like I don't care about not being able to draw because if I did care, I would practice until I was able to draw. I might not be great at it, but I could be better. And I just, you know, yeah, that's I think what people forget to say when they say they can't do stuff is that they don't care to learn. Um, so I did a paint by numbers. It took me a really long time. Like I took a bunch of videos of the process, and I think I watched at least 8 seasons of TV shows, like standard length TV, like 10 to 12 episodes of like 1 hour episodes, to complete it. It took me a really long time and kind of hurt my wrists and my jaw doing it, but like the jaw because of, it was like the physical position was causing me to clench a lot. But yeah, so right now I'm waiting for that to get put on like a frame because it's a canvas. And that's for my son's birthday present. He doesn't listen to my podcast, so I can tell you guys. I can show it to you and he's not gonna know. uh and I've been doing a little bit of jewelry making, but not too much. I I feel frustrated by trying to sell things on the internet because it's just hard to get seen. It's really hard to make noise in a room where everybody else is screaming, right? And you have the people who have money that allow them to be amplified, and I don't have that. Like I pay $30 a month to advertise my Etsy stuff, because literally I would just not get any sales except for my friends, and I feel like it's just not fair to be like relying on my friends to buy stuff. I mean, if they want to buy stuff from me, absolutely, but like the idea of like constantly just advertising to them and through social media posts and being like, hey, buy my stuff when they are aware of my financial situation, it feels really weird to me. And I don't like, I want to get like more of an outreach. Like I want to sell the stuff so that I can make more stuff, and I want to sell the stuff so I could like pay my bills. And maybe my priorities should be the other way around, but they're not. Okay, like just to be perfectly honest, I just like making stuff, and I like sending stuff to the new home. And I can't make myself care about making money more than about the creative process, because creative process is like joy, and making money off of it is was never the point, you know. Um, I don't know where the middle ground is for sharing the reality that I live in and advertising my stuff and stuff. Like I saw somebody post on Threads and basically saying that they won't buy from shops where the people like, I'm having a sale because I need money to fix my car, or I'm having a sale because I need the money for rent or whatever. Like they think that that's in poor taste. And I don't have an opinion about that. When people do that, I accept that they're doing that, and I just assume they're telling the truth. And I think that this person felt like maybe those people are doing it to manipulate to get sales. And I'm sure that's true sometimes, but also people will can be poor and will be poor, or they run into hardship, and get into situations that they need help out of, and they have a shop, and it makes logical sense to utilize that, right? So I tend not to look at those things as judgy, but I'm also aware of the fact that people do look at that stuff that way. We have a lot of bias towards being poor built into our culture in general, and so there is a lot of like distrust around that stuff. There's sort of an assumption that if you're poor, you did something wrong, because it's not really understood that most people are poor because they were born that way, and it's very hard to get out of it. You know, we have this story that we tell ourselves as a culture, you know, here in the US, that if you want something, all you have to do is work for it, you know, and all of the details that go into that, such as knowing the right people and having the right opportunities and looking the right way, and all of these other things are not really mentioned in that. You know, it's unrealistic to think that every single person can succeed in that way, right? It's a carrot that pushes people to be productive, because that benefits the society and the economy and stuff. It is not actually the land of equal opportunities. There simply isn't enough opportunity for that. There, you know, there's just too many variables, right? Um, and I think, you know, there's a lot of hardship that is out in the open right now, and I think there's more hardship happening than there was in the past. Like it's like it's always been there. There've always been poor people, like always. And I think there was sort of like this golden era where there were less, and there was like a more middle class. And I think that that's gone away. And I think that it's just going to keep getting worse. And we have the benefit of the internet now, which is allows us to be exposed to it. We have no way to gauge how accurate the noise we're hearing is. You know, people get amplified sometimes, and it makes them seem more powerful and more numerous than they actually are. And that can create like confusion and bias and stuff, and make people think that things are more than they are. And I think, you know, I don't know, I just think we all need to be skeptical and careful, but also like compassionate, you know, to take things on a one by one basis when we're engaging with people's content and stuff, and to not just assume. You know, I definitely have a lot of shame around being poor, living at the poverty level, not having like a formal education. Um, it it used to make me really uncomfortable to go into certain types of spaces because I felt like I didn't belong there. And I felt like I didn't deserve to be there and stuff. And it's, you know, I probably still have some of that. I don't have a lot of opportunity to go into pretty much any space but my bedroom. So, but, you know, I interact socially online with people all the time that are massively more educated than I am, like school wise. And they would never know that I didn't even finish high school. You know, like the predominant thing that shows for me, like through me, like not going to college, is that I simply did not have a college experience. I didn't have any of those social experiences or any of that. Like it's not relatable. And so when someone's like, oh yeah, you know, blah, 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 that thing that they take for granted because they had that particular experience, I'm like, huh? Yeah, you know, um, my nose made a noise. Um, but I have always felt like There's not a lot of space for my reality, and it can be really frustrating. Like I'm having a conversation with someone about something like a toy from our childhood. And I would be like, "Oh yeah, I knew somebody that had that. I didn't have that toy." And it's such a small thing, but it's enough to make that other person uncomfortable where they have to stop the conversation that we were having to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And they completely change the subject to be about their discomfort. And a lot of people don't really think about it that way, but like it is, right? It is absolutely about their discomfort in that moment, because if they weren't uncomfortable, they would not have changed the subject. They would have been able to accept my reality as it was and continued having the conversation that I was happily participating in very comfortably without feeling bad, you know? And it's like that with like my health issues and stuff like that. Like people just, they always have to like shift it. So like I feel like, I see these conversations happening around me and I can't really participate because I'm going to make people uncomfortable if I'm honest. I mean, like if there's a movie coming out, it kind of sucks because I can't really be excited about seeing the movie because I'm probably not ever going to see it unless it's free on streaming, which is going to be in the future. Like, and that's assuming it's even released on any of the services that I have access to, which are all because other people have added me to their services. So, the only one that I pay for is the Amazon Prime one. And I've been thinking about canceling that, even though it's where I get most of my TV. I like a lot of British TV and Australian TV. I get my Korean TV off Netflix, but it's so expensive. I just don't feel like I can justify it. And a lot of my art supplies I can get on Temu. I'm sorry, it's awful, but and I shop at Walmart for other stuff. There's really not a lot that I get from Amazon or my Amazon Prime membership that if I'm willing to wait, I can't get somewhere else. Except for the TV stuff. So, but I don't know. I'm still thinking about that, but it's just if I cancel it, I could put that money towards the bandwidth. I keep running out of bandwidth on the Xfinity from streaming TV a couple times a week, literally 3 to 4 nights a week, 5 or 6 hours, like while I'm crafting, and that's using up like most of the bandwidth for the entire month. And yeah, it's kind of stressing me out. So, but like, like if I talk about that, like if I'm like, it's really frustrating that all these streaming apps have gotten rid of the streaming quality option, so I can't really control how much bandwidth is being used anymore. And I'm running out of the bandwidth. People are like, "Oh, we'll just get unlimited." With what money? Or, I can't really be like, well, I'd like to see that movie, but I'm going to have to wait or whatever, because then people get uncomfortable, or they tell you to just, it'll be out for streaming and, you could pay $15 or whatever to rent it, right? It's like they don't really get it. Like when you say you don't have money, it doesn't mean I'm on like kind of a budget and I need to be careful. It's like, no, I'm using my credit card to pay for groceries. And I don't know what I'm going to do when that runs out. Like, and back to the like shop thing, like again, like where is the line between talking about my reality and also self-promotion? Like I don't want people to shop at my shop because they feel bad for me. I want them to buy this stuff because they want it. So I'm not going to make posts about my shop being like, hey, I need money, buy my stuff. I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen. But at the same time, within the social media sphere, I make other posts that are not about my shop. And, like, I feel like I should be able to share about my life and the things that are happening in my life because they're a part of reality. They might not be the reality that you live. They might not be the reality somebody else lives, but it's definitely my reality, and I'm not unique. There's lots of people like me. And I do think that, that all realities should be represented because like we are all participating in this society that has helped shape this reality. And my reality could happen to anybody else. It just takes like an injury at work or, the right genetic switch flipping or whatever, and suddenly they're going to be navigating the same system. And if they're lucky, they're going to have the same, they're going to have better support systems in place, but even that's not always guaranteed. And, like I know somebody that has like, like blood disorders and it's all very serious stuff. And they had like the long-term disability through their job. And then the insurance company yanked it from them and they've been fighting for it. And they're worried about being homeless. Never mind the fact that they have like this concrete diagnosis and were awarded this long-term disability. It's just like these systems do not want to support us. They were put there in place for us to pay into, but they don't actually want to pay out, and it's pretty scary. And there really aren't a lot of safety nets there. And, I feel like, even though I often feel like my experiences don't matter, there are a lot of things that I have never really talked about in my life because I'm just like, well, they happen to other people. It doesn't matter, and they still matter. They add to the shape of that reality and add details to the issue that feeds into it. And they do matter. And plus my reality is I am my own universe, right? And I matter in the context of myself and anybody that gives a shit about me. Like I know that cognitively, I'm still working on the emotional part. Okay. It's challenging. I am sure because there's many people listening to this can relate. Just, yeah. If you find yourself saying I'm sorry in response to things that people say about themselves, I ask that you think about it, reevaluate, like why, like what is actually happening? What do you mean by that? And try to understand that reaction in a way that perhaps you could unpack it and tell that other person what it is that you actually mean. Because a lot of these social scripts, these like I'm sorry's and stuff, they're like knee-jerk reactions. So, people have been trained to say them without really thinking about what they mean. And no one ever said, hey, when you say this, these words mean yada, right? They just pick it up from TV, from their family, their friends, whatever. And it's those words have been, the meaning of those words is the assumption that they mean when they heard it, right? And then we are all relying on assumption to interpret it, and we're all assuming that the other person knows what we mean. And that's really why I don't like social scripts and why they tend to stress me out, is because I tend not to rely on assumptions very well, and I get confused. Like when someone says something and it's open-ended or it's kind of like an empty vessel, I can see 5, 10, 100 different meanings depending on the context. And if you don't give me the context, I will just get stuck and I'll be like, what the fuck did that mean? And when I was younger, I would just kind of get upset and then like just wander off. But as I've gotten older, I've just gotten tired of it. I've gotten like, could you just say what you mean, please? And and if it's someone I don't know, I let it go. But if it's someone that I know, that's someone I'm going to continue to interact with, somebody that maybe is going to become a new friend, I let them know how it makes me feel. And kind of give them the food for thought of like, hey, maybe when talking to me or talking with others, you could use more authentic language. And I know that that can be a big ask, but I don't think it's unreasonable. And if people can't handle it, then I know that they're not going to fit in my life. Um, so yeah, social scripts are definitely like worth exploring and figuring out what they mean to us, and then deciding if we really want to use them or maybe plug them into like a more complex sentence. It's kind of like apologies, not just the I'm sorry, but like if we do something wrong and we offend somebody and we're taught to say I'm sorry. When you go through therapy and stuff and the psychology stuff, they teach you that in order to actually do a proper apology, you don't just say I'm sorry. You say that you're apologizing, but you also say why you're apologizing so that the other person can hear your understanding of your impact on them, as well as what your intentions are in the future, to minimize it happening again. That's totally, in my mind, the same thing. It's unpacking this very simple statement that when we say it might package all of these complex emotions and actually unpacks it into a statement that more accurately and authentically reflects this complex emotions. And it can be like a little bit vulnerable to do that, but I feel like the world would be a better place if we were all a little more vulnerable with each other. Like I know you can be like, oh no, but with all the divisiveness and stuff, yeah, but like we wouldn't even be here if people were honest to begin with. The only reason why the divisiveness has taken shape the way it has is because people aren't authentic with each other, because they're not honest with each other. So they're so easily wrapped up into misinformation and disinformation and bias that's based on disinformation, right? Like we've been fed a whole bunch of bullshit about other people in a way that like has just strengthened bias, and made it harder to be compassionate and understanding and stuff. And there are a lot of things happening in this world right now that are happening because of that, because people have kind of been corralled into these groups, and they all have blinders on, and they're all believing stuff that if you had put these beliefs in front of them 15 years ago, they would have been like, what the fuck? It, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I'm not going to get too much into that stuff because I don't like politics. And I don't think the way that most people do about these things. And with the way things are right now, I don't want to end up having a conversation with somebody that I don't agree with, and I don't agree with almost anyone. So we're just not going to go too much further into that. Yeah. So back to the health stuff. I have been waiting to see a rheumatologist for like ever. And I saw them and my blood work was normal, and I got some tests and they were all pretty normal. And they were like, so we want to put you on immunosuppressants. I know your blood work is normal, but the pattern of your symptoms, and basically my body is riddled with tendonitis. And it could be EDS, but the fact that like it doesn't respond well to treatment, and that it's just sort of keeps accumulating, he's kind of like, yeah. So at some point in the future I will be doing that, but it'll be after I get my gallbladder out, which I don't know when that will be, because I haven't talked to the surgeon yet. But the surgeon picked me, okay? I didn't pick the surgeon. My GI went to a bunch of specialist and was like, "Hey, I got this patient. She's a real pain in my ass, and I don't know what to do with her. What, any of you guys want to deal with her? Because she's a pain in my ass." And I'm sure that's not what he did. uh, and this particular surgeon was like, "I like pain in the ass," and so I'm going to talk to her in a couple of weeks, and we'll see. I anticipated going one of two ways. One, she's going to be like, "If you want me to take it out, I'll take it out," and she has like no other real opinion. She's just willing to cut. Or she has experience dealing with the hyperkinetic gallbladder stuff, and she's going to have some information for me that I already know because I've read like every medical paper I could possibly find. Um, but she's at least going to know some stuff. She might even have ideas of some like additional testing that we could do that hasn't been done yet. And then we'll discuss removing it because it is a little bit of a diagnosis of exclusion. I can't remember if that's the right word or not. But basically, where you've ruled out everything else and you're like, I don't know what the fuck it is. Maybe it's this. Let's remove the organ and see what happens. So, that could be fun. So, yeah, that'll be in my future sometime. And I hope that every time I turn this way, it doesn't get like a lot louder because that would be annoying. So yeah, so that's like basically my health stuff. Just kind of, there's a lot going on, and I'm just kind of waiting. And I'm working with my pain specialist to kind of manage things in the meantime. And I'm not being good about taking my meds for my pain because it's like an uh, anti-inflammatory and stuff that makes me tired. And not like narcotics or anything. They don't work on me anyways. But if they were offered to me, I wouldn't take them. I even when my pain is like really really high, I I just it doesn't help. I don't really understand narcotics because I can still feel the pain. I'm just tired. So I think my brain doesn't work with them like other people. Uh, but yeah, I'm not real good at I have like topical stuff and I forget to use it. It's a thing. Also, like it just feels yucky. Like the topical stuff. So I think I forget to use it because I don't like the way it feels. Uh, eh. But yeah, I've been eating, so that's good. I was not eating much for a while. I lost 50 pounds in like 3 months, and now I'm eating like a meal and a snack or so every day, and I've actually put a little weight on, so that's a little weird because I'm not eating a lot, but I am eating, and it's very nice. I can eat salads. I was so afraid in November that I had lost my relationship with food again after 4 years of being on a liquid diet. I was just like not happy that that might be what was happening again. So I get very excited to have like a nice salad with some beans and avocado. It's pretty delicious. Um, the thing that hurts me the most is spicy food. So no Thai curry for me right now. Thai curry is like my favorite, just FYI. Um, Also like chana masala and butter chicken, and I like those too. So, but yeah, that's okay. I'm happy to eat. I'm just happy to be able to eat healthy stuff, and I can live without some of the other stuff until we get the gallbladder out and see if that helps or not. And yeah, so I covered the crafting. I did get a bunch of like cool stuff that I'm going to be making soon. I hope like jewelry and bookmarks. And I got like a butt ton of collaging stuff. Like I was like, "Hey, I want some collaging stuff." And now I I have so much collaging stuff. I don't know where to start. I have a whole bunch of vintage stuff that my friend Liz sent to me, and they're awesome. Like these old magazines, I'm like looking forward to reading them and just like seeing all the sketchy ideas from back when. When they're talking about like eating lead and stuff. And I got I got like comic book pages. That ends up the comic book shop near here in Benicia, Zeppelin Comics. They got new owners, and one of the things that they're doing is they cut up like the single issue ones, probably the ones that they're going to recycle or trash anyways because they can't sell them or they're not worth enough to sell or whatever. And they're selling them in these like bundles of single pages for like $2.99, and it's like a butt ton. So I've got a bunch of those, and then I have some stuff that my friend Tam sent me, including like a Time magazine. Was it Time or Discover? National National Geographic. There was like talking outside, and it made my stomach do something. Um, and yeah, I got some other stuff. So I got some crafty stuff in the works, and I have been streaming on Twitch 3 times a week: Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays from 6 p.m. Western Ocean time, like Pacific, um, until I get tired. So sometimes that's 11, but usually it's like midnight. So I usually stream for about 6 hours. And it's just like I was doing Death Stranding, and I got 5 stars with all the preppers except for the last guy, and he is being a pain. So I took a break because I was getting really tired of waiting for another package to show up for him, and I will go back to that at some point. And I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2 because I felt like if I could get through Death Stranding, I can get through Red Dead. Because part of what I was struggling with was traveling on horse to get places. It was just boring. And yeah, I finally got into it enough. I was able to get through it. My issue is that I hate most of the characters. I don't like them. The relationships are all just dysfunctional and unnecessarily so. Like, I get that they're trying to make a drama and stuff, but I don't like any of the characters. Like, there there has to be something relatable, and they're all just like a little too abrasive, a little too like whatever. But now I'm in the epilogue part, and that's a lot more fun. It makes me want to go back and play the first one. So, and if I ever get the opportunity to get the remastered version of the first one, I will play the fuck out of that. But yeah, so I've been doing that, and that's been a lot of fun. It's been really good for my mental health, that I didn't know I needed help with, because I just kind of feel fine most of the time, but I didn't realize that I could feel better. So, so that's been really nice. I don't always have people jump in. I do have one of my friends jumps in when they get up in the morning and they're in Norway. Hi. And that's really nice. So I always know, like, if I'm online long enough, that I will get to say hi to somebody, at least, for a little bit. Um, so it's kind of cool. And then, no, it's definitely cool. And sometimes, like, one of my other friends will like lurk, and I know they're there. They might not be listening, but I can kind of make believe I'm talking to them, and I just kind of babble and I talk a lot. But um, and every now and again, I get like a new follower. They usually don't say anything, but sometimes they do, and that's pretty exciting. And we get to talk about stuff. And then they go away, and then I'm like, I must have been really annoying. Hmm. And then I'm like, why does my brain always say that? Be quiet, you. You don't know. But yeah. So, oh, and then I take the streams and I edit them down into clips that make me laugh. And then I put them on YouTube so that nobody watches them. I mean, it's not strictly true. Every now and again, one of them will get watched, and a like, or a comment, but it's not the norm. And I watch them and I laugh. Like, I had a really bad allergy attack, and I edited down all of my sneezes into one video, just back to back sneezes, and me just being like, oh, it's so funny. And actually, somebody made a song about sneezing, and I am thinking about trying my hand at video editing where I use the song. They gave me permission to use the song and see if I can. I'll have to go get the stream and try to edit it down more, like have more footage so that it's like the whole length of the song. But I think that would be like a lot of fun, you know. So yeah, so I've been doing that. I've still been doing stuff to keep myself busy, even though it's not the stuff that I normally do. Um, I guess it's become I guess it's become the stuff I am normally doing, though, right? Like I don't know. I don't know why I always have to discount what I'm doing, but that's the thing. I'll think about that later. And the what's the other thing? So the podcast. Hold on a second. Okay, I remember now. I had to pause it to think about. It. I was like just sitting here being like, what the? So my website. I've been working on my website because I'm migrating my more unique jewelry items and whatnot off of Etsy because I haven't sold any of them, and I'm just paying listing fees. You know, it's like 20 cents every 3 months, I think, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have like 60 items, it like adds up. Like I was on vacation mode for 2 months, and I don't know, I paid them like $45 in fees during that time. It's like ridiculous, you know. And I see people posting being like, oh, well, these shops that are complaining about their Etsy fees are just like bad business people because they're not taking it into account. Except that I knew there were Etsy fees, and my overall sales last year was $2,200, 2,200. And my take home after Etsy fees was basically like 1,300 ish. I don't remember the exact number. So they took almost $1,000, or they took no, sorry, it's 1,200. I can't agree with myself. They took $1,000. They took almost half of what I got last year. Um, and you know, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's much higher fees than what it cost me to use a shop on my website, like much higher. Um, and you know, you subtract from the $1,200 that I got, the cost of making things, some of the shipping snafus, my website fees, my email fees, because like the website company that I use, they host stuff and you can have your domain there, but they don't do email or anything. So I have to pay Google an additional like $5 a month for my domain emails, and all that stuff's like important. It makes you more legit seeming, you know. So it's, you know, part of sort of investing in what I'm trying to do, because I do legitimately want to keep doing this and keep building something. It's like I know I do a lot of things, and if I can keep doing a lot of things, awesome. But if I can like build my shop and go to events and stuff when I feel bad, I really want to do that, and I feel like it's feasible. Even though a lot of times I feel frustrated and overwhelmed by trying to compete in a world where popular people and people with money just have it easier, and I'm not either of those. I'm popular with the people that care about me, but you know, we are all like, all my friends are like me. We're all awesome, but we are acquired taste, so we are not part of the majority. Um, and it's really hard to, you know, get the word out. Like, especially when the algorithm just goes, eh. So even when people share my stuff, it doesn't, go anywhere. So, it's, I'm still learning and trying to find a way to build this thing and not get burnt out and not get discouraged because, the imposter syndrome. And I have said a lot. I'm sorry. I would edit it out, but I'm not going to because it's just not. That's why. So yeah, all those things will probably come up in future episodes. I don't know how many of these like one non zeros I'll be doing. I do have some articles I would like to share with you guys. But I'm not going to do it this time because I've already hit an hour. So I'll do it in the future, maybe like when I'm talking to my son or something, or I'll do another one. But yeah, so my plan for this season is I'm just going to keep having people on and having conversations that I hope are interesting, that I hope are relatable or educational or whatever. Like, just, I hope that it provides something to your day on the day that you listen. And like I said, if you would like to join me, if you know somebody that you think could be on, would enjoy being on, let me know. If you have questions or topics that you would like to hear me talk about, please let me know. I have never gotten a request. I haven't even gotten a request on like TikTok for like songs or sound suggestions or any. My friends get them and I'm like, why am I not that cool? So, if you've been like, I got this thing and I'd like to hear Leigh's thoughts on this, and please, I love the attention. It will encourage me. I will be excited. I will get dopamine. I will be like, oh my God, you have no idea how much I love knowing that I exist, because I sit here and I talk and I talk and I talk and I talk. I've done this my entire life. I can talk to myself because I grew up doing that. And I'm really used to it, to the point that I have allowed people in my life to basically not acknowledge most of what I text them. And I let that be an okay way to be treated. And it's not that every single thing needs to be acknowledged or every single thing needs to be a conversation point. But when it's the norm, it sucks. It doesn't feel great. And I want to get to the point that my podcast, these episodes, are the only time, for the most part, that it happens this much. Because in this context, I know that even if I'm not aware of the fact that someone is listening and thinking about what I'm saying or using my voice to distract them while they vacuum or whatever the junk, I do know that that people choose to listen, and so they are listening, right? I might not be getting the engagement, but in the situation of like emails and texts and stuff where they've read it but not, you don't know. There's no acknowledgement. It's just, and I don't like it. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to be treated like that ADHD kid who couldn't stop talking anymore, that my parents used to duct tape my mouth because they thought it was funny, and I still couldn't stop talking. Like, and I knew it while I was doing it. I'd be like, I don't know why I can't stop, but there's a word for it. It happens in autism, or the excessive talking thing. And in this context of like I really like the word context today. Okay. In the context of the podcast, it's not bad. It's not bad to talk a lot. Okay. I mean, I would have named my podcast Chatterbox Central, except that somebody already took the name. So, that's why I'm going to actually, because actually, it, yeah, I want to use it for good, but I don't want to use it. I don't want to waste it and feel bad. Makes sense, right? Okay, it makes sense, right? Yeah. Anyway, so thank you if you listen to this in part or in whole. Again, requests, suggestions for topics. Love them. Bring them. And I will talk at you because I'm not going to see you. I can't see you. I'm sorry. I know I'm looking at you, but I can't actually see you. You will see me, and I will talk at you next week. Yeah.